We are in search of a human record of the life people lived in this place in that ancient time.
Well, this isn't looking good.
Bruce Crispin is a Bureau of Land Management archaeologist, and he knows we are pushing the envelope a little. Only a little rain in this arid climate can turn the roads to mush, and the rain has started, and snow has been threatening here for days. But we intend only a quick trip into the past to witness for ourselves a reputed post-Ice Age rock drawing. It may be the only one of its kind in the state. We will visit the site and leave before already softening roads dissolve into the winter rivers of mud they certainly will become.
God, if you look back at that, it just looks like one big mud hole.
In a motel room earlier in the day, we examined for a final time the video fueling this odyssey.
And we come to the Lake Owyhee petroglyph site.
Harold Kurtz is a man we have never met, but he carefully documents the remote reaches of eastern Oregon with a home camera. His lens captured never-before-recorded pictures of an incredibly fascinating rock with elephant-like figures carved into it.
Could be a mastodon. You notice?
Bruce Crispin, the federal archaeologist, agrees. The drawings etched in the rock seemingly bear the stamp of authenticity. They really could be images of extinct Pleistocene elephants drawn by eyewitnesses.
In the sense that they're representational and not abstract, they're very typical of the depictions of things like deer and elk and human figures that occur in the area. In terms of the way they're scratched and carved into the rock and executed, that is rather typical of this area as well.
But Harold Kurtz could not accompany us on this trip. We have had to brave the deteriorating roads alone. And without a guide, the vastness of this country resists the simple directions Kurtz has willingly offered us by phone. Landmarks seem to recede into the general grandeur here, and words lose their descriptive power. And since we are already well beyond the perimeter of civilization, it is the lure of discovery alone tugging us on. Where are we?
Looks good.
You hope.
We will have to drop 1,800 feet from the rimrock to the banks of the Owyhee River below, and it will take us longer than we expected. But the sun is out and it is warm, and today's weather seems remote to us anyway now. It is the Ice Age and the Kurtz petroglyphs that have our complete attention.
We find spear points of that antiquity on the surface of dry lakes, oftentimes when we're in the field. So finding something from that period is not impossible. It happens rather frequently.
The thought inspires us, and we try for speed. But sometimes the descent seems treacherous, and the unstable volcanic rock slows us down a lot.
Igneous products, from volcanic ashes and lava flows. And then they just fracture away from the bedrock through time.
Freeze thaw, fractures?
Yeah, you get a little cracks and water works in, then they open up further when it freezes.
For at least 13,000 years, human beings have lived in the Oregon country. For most of that time, of course, people lacked the miracle fabrics we prefer to shield us against unknowable elements. But petroglyphs, perhaps, afforded the ancients something similar to the soulless polyester and Teflon blends often offer us.
One of the very typical situations in which it seems rock art is used is as a form of hunting magic, to enhance the wherewithal of a group to ensure the hunt, that they would take the game that they're looking for, to enhance the productivity of the populations of that game animal that's the target for such a group.
So, this might have been a land of mammoth and mastodon hunters. What do you think?
Well, one way or the other we have to go over that, so we can either go around it or over it. If you want to be done with the river, we can go down, whatever.
Well, it's just that we're not sure how precipitous it is on the other side, are we?
This ridgeline here is basically just a high ridge. There's nothing any more steep than that.
So we've got to go over that and down then?
Once we're over that, we're not far from it.
Oh, okay.
Half a mile.
A camera crew would be laughably out of place in this rough country, even in Gore-Tex should a storm break. And thick clouds seem to wallow in the sky under the weight of the moisture they carry. Yet if we find the Mastodon pictures, communications to our age from the ancients, we will feel justified, we know. We will have erased time and stood in the spot where a human contemporary sketched a mastodon he had actually seen. This beautiful but inhospitable land suddenly seems filled with potential, even as it forms a labyrinth increasingly untrackable.
It may well be that things like mastodon graves or the skeletal remains of some of these large and long extinct animals will also be found throughout southeastern Oregon, because they do occur in northern Nevada just below the state line. There is definitely the potential for either amateurs or professional archaeologists to be out in the landscape and encounter such evidence.
Okay, let's go. The clouds engulf the sun before we reach our goal, and we find ourselves in a cold, premature twilight with the suspicion that we have miscalculated. Short distances on the map have somehow extended themselves beyond our capacity to walk them fast enough, and now we are running out of daylight, out of time. We do finally reach the town site of Watson. This is the place Harold Kurtz reports as the approximate location of the Mastodon petroglyphs. He says there was never much here, maybe a store and a post office. An old rancher, living in the vicinity as a boy in the 20s, discovered the Mastodon petroglyphs. He led Kurtz to them years later. We expect to see the petroglyphs any moment now. Perhaps it is only our fear of the dwindling light that makes us unable to find the rock art. Anxiety is preventing concentration. But all the rocks look the same, and they are all blank. There are no prehistoric drawings, and there is no hint of the town of Watson at all, except for a fenced and utterly isolated cemetery. It is a settler graveyard. The most recent date on any stone is 1918, and the dead here are as inaccessible to us as the Ice Age Indians whose mark we've been seeking. Both are bound forever to this gorgeous but oh so very lonely land. But we can leave, and we must. The rain is starting in earnest, and soupy roads breed their own kind of fear in adventurers like us. We will wait until summer, and perhaps for Harold Kurtz in person, before we again brave the Owyhee for its prehistoric secrets.